Hey everybody, welcome back to the van. Well, obviously I'm not in the van. I'll tell you exactly why I'm not in the van. And that is because here in southern Alberta, it has been ridiculously cold. We're talking minus 20 to minus 45 Celsius, which I think is like minus 22 to minus 40 something in the Fahrenheit range. It has been deathly cold here. But I thought I would do a quick video here because I'm at the studio and just explain about my absence for the last few months and what has taken place. Well, in order to explain this, we have to go back, it's just a little bit over 15 years. I had been diagnosed with a lung disease, and after being diagnosed, I decided I'd get back into my camping a bit more. And I also decided that I would get myself a dog. And this dog was to be a family dog. And so we went out and picked the dog. And the dog that I picked, I was overridden. And the name I wanted, I was overridden. And so we ended up with this dog by the name of Kessa, which was a royal pain in the butt dog. But she became my travel companion, my camping companion, and everything else because she always wanted to be with me. And her and I had some really good experiences. When she was a little pup, she got into a bit of an accident. Well, she actually got into several accidents. But one, she ended up getting her back end crushed between a door and a wall. And ever since then, she's had issues with her back end. Then about 3, maybe 4 years ago, I went to put her in the van. Every day I would take her for a walk 2 to 3 times a day because she was part Border Collie and she wanted that exercise. She wanted that challenge. She wanted stuff to do. So even if we weren't out camping, I would take her out for a walk several times a day. And then about 3 years ago, I went to put her in the vehicle one morning and she couldn't get in. Her back end had just gotten to the point where she just couldn't get in. A few days after that, I was walking her and she actually fell. And so we took her to the vet and they informed us that she had severe arthritis and that she had months, maybe a year left. Well, that was 3 years ago and she proved them all wrong. We gave her some medication. She was never in pain or I would have dealt with it at that time. We gave her some medication and her and I continued our walks 2 to 3 times a day, no matter what the temperature, no matter what my schedule, no matter anything. She had to get for her walks or she would drive you up the wall. So her and I went out for our walks and it was good for both of us. Approximately, I would say just over a year ago, she started having some more issues. She's always had her arthritis. She always had a problem in the last probably 5 years with incontinence where she would piddle if she was left alone too long. And so a lot of my schedule had to be changed to meet that. I actually reduced my hours here at the studio and the photo lab so that I could be home with her more often, so that I could take her out when she wasn't sitting there for 10 hours straight, so she'd only be there for 4 or 5 hours or 6 hours by herself, and then I would take her out. And then, like I said, about a year ago, things started to change, I wouldn't say drastically, but quite a bit. And so we increased some of her medication that she was on. She was doing actually quite good. We took her to the vet and she actually had a couple infections, which they gave her the meds for, and she did really well. And then I guess it was November 27th when it all happened. She actually fell November 26th when she was going down some stairs. And took her for a walk that evening and she was fine. It's just like she stumbled. She didn't even respond like she was hurt or anything. And then the next morning got up and she was really good. We went for a walk, actually quite a long walk that day. And we had a really good time and everything. And then I went to work and I came home that afternoon around 4 o'clock and she wasn't responding correctly. You could just tell that something was not correct. I went to get something and I heard her get up and I heard her fall down. I went to take her for a walk and she just couldn't walk anymore. So that was the day that we had to have her put down. And it's been really hard. She was with me for 15 years through my health struggles. As I mentioned before, I have a lung issue. And she made me get out there and walk 2-3 times a day, even when I didn't want to. Days when I was sick and I was literally walking a few steps and then keeling over, trying to catch my breath and gasping for air as I was walking. She didn't mind. She just kept walking, and she just dragged me along with her. And it did good for both of us. It really did. And she was my travel companion up to about 3 years ago when she couldn't get in the vehicle anymore. But since then, a lot of stuff has had to change in my life in order to give her a good quality of life. And I couldn't go to some Christmas things that the family had when it was out of town. I haven't been able to travel because she can't travel. Nobody else in the family could or would walk her. She was a bit of a, shall we say, a strong personality, and that's being polite. She was a royal pain in the butt when it came to some things. So I had to spend a lot of time around here. And for the last year, it's really cut into my travel because it wasn't fair for me to leave her and then have the arthritis get worse while I was gone because people weren't taking her for a walk, and then come back and have to nurture her through getting back active again. So I made the decision that I would stick around closer to home. And for the few times that I did get out, I made sure I walked her the day that I left, and then I may stay out that night, and then I would come back the next day and walk her as soon as I got back home again, so that she didn't seize up, so that her muscles stayed as good as they could. But in the last little while, she actually, it really cut into my time. I was leaving later for work because our walk in the morning, we would leave at 7 in the morning, and what used to take us 15, 20 minutes was starting to take us an hour and a half to walk. So I was late getting to work, and then I would leave here by 4 o'clock so that I would be home by 4:30 so that I could walk her again. So it really did cut into my travel time and a lot of other things, but she was my travel partner and everything, so I figured that was the least I could do for her. She didn't suffer. I'm quite happy to say that up until the day that we took her in to have her put down, that she was quite fine. And even the day that when we got to the vet, she actually tried attacking another dog. That was her personality, was that she was trying to round them up, and she was trying to make sure that they knew that she was boss. So it was hard to do, but it was something that had to be done. I want to address a little bit here, and I've talked about it before, about people who get pets as part of their YouTube or Instagram or whatever for their alternate living, whether it be in a van, a bus, or whatever. And I'm a pet lover. I'd rather have pets than people. If pets could come in here and order pictures, and if they would come in and book sittings and so on and so forth by themselves, I would be a happy camper. I really would. I prefer pets over people big time. I don't think a pet in any way, shape, or form, and I know I've mentioned this in a video before, should be used as a marketing ploy or should be used as anything to get more likes, more support, more whatever, because a pet is a real investment. Not only in food, not only in vet, not only in whatever other expenses, but in time. And so many people that are buying pets, not only just for YouTube and Instagram, the people outside of that do this as well. But they get pets that they have no interest in the pet as much as they have an interest in the status that that pet brings them. And that sickens me to no end. And I cannot stand people who do that. Because, sure, a pet looks cute in the video. A dog laying on the bed next to the good-looking girl looks really good and everything. Or the handsome guy playing frisbee with the dog on the beach looks really nice and everything. But there's so much more. There's the end-of-life stuff that you have to deal with. There's the last few years where a pet can't get in and out of a vehicle as easy as they have been able to. There's pets out there that can't drive. They get car sick. They get sick in a vehicle. So if you're in a bus, if you're in an ambulance, a van or whatever, and you're driving them and they're getting sick, people, think about these things first. Think about what do you do if you get a pet that has car sickness. What are you going to do with a pet that may have incontinence? What are you going to do with a pet that may have upset stomach or stomach issues? Or what about all of this stuff? And think about it, because it's not something that a lot of people do think about. We see all these pictures on Instagram, and we see these videos and hear these stories on Facebook and everything about, oh, look at this cute puppy. Oh, look at this cute dog. But seldom do we ever hear about what happens when the pet gets sick. Seldom do we ever hear what happens when the pet gets old. It's a huge investment. And that has actually taken a lot out of me, physically, mentally, and emotionally for the last couple of years, because of just some of the stuff that's been said to me by people that I know, and some of the stuff that's just been insinuated, and so on and so forth. A pet is a part of the family in my books. You just don't leave the pet. You just don't go away for a vacation for 3 weeks and not think about the pet. You just don't get in a vehicle and go for a day and a half or 2 days and not think about what's going to happen to this animal that can't travel anymore. You have to think about all this stuff. And to me, that's part of pet ownership. It's not just getting that cute little puppy, that good-looking dog to add likes. So, as I said, it's been rough. It's been difficult. I now don't have a pet in my life, and I have no interest anymore on having a pet. If I find one, whatever, I may, but I am not planning on it, because I know how much it took out of me this last few years. And for that, I am quite grateful I had the time with my dog, with Kessa. Like I said, she was a royal pain in the butt. She did stuff that just absolutely drove me insane, like stopping to explore an area, and she goes and rolls in a bunch of cow manure. Then we take her and we wash her off and turn around, and here she is rolling in it again. Just drove me up the wall. But she was great to have with. I would never have to worry about anybody or anything breaking into my vehicle or to my tent or anything with her there. She was the biggest protector that I've ever seen in a dog. She used to whine at the stairs as I was getting ready to go, and if I didn't take her, I'd have to come back home and pick her up to take her, because she would drive the family nuts. She would sleep on the bed beside me, and she would protect me with her life, and she was a great dog. But now that she's passed, now that I've got to that point where I don't have a pet, I know how much it is. I know how much investment it is, not just financially, but physically, mentally, and emotionally. And people, if you're thinking of getting a pet, please think clearly. There's a lot of wonderful dogs out there. I'm like, yeah, there's great cats out there and everything. But think about what it's going to take and what it's going to cost you, in not only the money, but in other ways. So until next time, have a great day. If you have a pet, go give him a scratch behind the ear for me, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.